Alright, the YouTube stream is up. I'll just give a few minutes for people to join in and then I'll start. Alright, just give me 5 minutes and then we'll start. Hi Nimisha, welcome. Just give me 5 minutes before I start. Like just more people come in. Just a couple of minutes more, we'll wait a minute. Alright, let's start. Uh, Hi Keshav, hi Nimisha, welcome. Okay, today basically what I wanted to speak about was that, alright, just give me a second. Uh, make sure. Welcome, Ashutosh. All right, we'll start. Um, okay, so look, today I'm not going to be telling you, I'm not going to be giving any tricks as such. It's more about how do you handle the final week? How do you handle the final day pressure? So, see, CAT, everybody knows, is a once in a year thing, right? So, it obviously there is going to be pressure associated with it. But what we have to realize here is that this pressure shouldn't get to you. How do you work around it, right? Those are the kind of things you gotta. Uh, what are the things you can do to reduce that sort of pressure you bring onto yourself? The first thing, the thing you can start out with is to accept that there is pressure going into CAT. You've prepared for a year. You want to see how it's gonna come out and all of that. The second you work around that pressure, the second you can get through uh, your set. That goes well. You've already done your preparation. Now it's about the mental conditioning part. So I'm just going to give you a few things which work for me. I hope it works for you. Uh, just basic guidelines and things like that. And then you guys can ask any questions you have. I'd be, glad to take up any doubts you guys have. Hopefully, I can clear your minds, of any sort of problems you have. So please do go ahead and ask. I want to keep this as interactive as possible because I understand the last 1 week you guys are nervous. You guys will have questions. Do ask. I've gone through all of this the last couple of years, so I can relate well, right? And I can tell you what is something that might have worked for you. So let's see how it goes, right? And one thing is CAT journey, right, is different for everyone. How the next 1 week, how that 3 hours CAT is gonna be, it's gonna be different for everyone. So keep that in mind. So what works for you, right? Anything works. But these are just basic things which should help you. Basic sanitary details you should keep in mind. So about me, before that, I'm 100% Tyler in CAT 2019. I got an admit to IIM Ahmedabad. Will be joining next year. So hopefully some of you folks here in today's class will be my batchmates next year. Now, I had deferred a year, so that's why I'll be here next year. All right. So let's go in. First and foremost, guys, this 1 week is not. It's to make sure you guys don't burn out. That's the most important thing. Okay. This 1 week, make sure you guys, take enough sufficient amount of rest. Revise, yes. Take a couple of mocks if you feel you have the need. Analyze it, all of that, okay. But make sure you rest enough, sleep enough amount. Make sure you, other than when you're taking a mock or analyzing, make sure you don't even think about that. All right. Uh, Netflix and chill, or whatever works for you. For me, the last 1 week, I tried not to touch anything related to CAT, and it helped me a lot because, at that point, the only thing running in my mind was, the kind of pressure that was coming, the kind of expectations. To push that away, the best thing was stop thinking about CAT altogether. So I would suggest make sure you do anything but CAT, right? Anything that works for you. For me, it was reading books. I love to read. I'm a Potterhead, so I went back and I read through the entire Harry Potter saga over the last 1 week. That's what my CAT so-called last week prep was. I tried to stay away from CAT all the other time because you've done a year of prep. It doesn't make sense to, now at this moment, that last minute, there's not much you can do. But revise, uh, go through mocks already taken, just see through the questions, read through them, try to see if you can pick out some way you feel works for you. Work on your strategies, both on final day CAT or more than that, work on how you're, or rather keep it in. All this is in your mind, right? Make sure your mind space is very clear. You go in with a monk-like concentration. That's the important thing. So forget all of that. Make sure you rest enough. Eat well. Make sure you don't get, especially with the COVID phenomenon out there. Make sure you don't, in any way fall sick. Stay away from people that you should anyway, but please do, especially now. Keep yourself safe. It's very, very important. Keep yourself well rested. At this point, that is very, very, very important. Hi, Suhas. Welcome. All right. Other than that, next, don't worry about your whatever mock scores you've got in the last few mocks. Don't worry about what weaknesses you're suffering with. You feel, verbal just doesn't work for me, or quant is my bane, all of that. Don't think of all that now. You've done your prep. All you have to do is go there and do well. And from personal experience, just because a subject is something you're weak at doesn't mean you won't score in CAT. See, in the end, you guys aren't here to score well in CAT mocks. You're here to score well in CAT, right? And CAT, it doesn't matter what you scored in mocks. CAT's a different ballgame. You might have topped every single mock, but then, sorry, this, right. You might have topped every single mock, but you might screw up CAT. And similarly, you might have done pathetically in mocks, but you might ace CAT. I've seen people score less than 80 percentile in each and every mock, ending up with a 95 percentile in the CAT. I've seen people who've topped, top 5 ranks, etc. They ended up with a subpar score, maybe 95, 96 percentile, which for their range was not good because they messed up something. They messed up somewhere. They've got tens. Don't let all that happen. Don't let any sort of negativity get to you here. At this point, it's very important that you keep positive. You stay positive. and just keep pushing yourself ahead little by little. All right. Uh, Sorry. Okay. Next, take advice from anywhere and everywhere, including me, but follow only what works. Right. People are going to give you languished advice. There'll be some person who tell you attempt every single question that comes. There'll be some person who tells don't attempt more than 20 questions. But all right, but all of that doesn't matter. Oh, sorry. All right. What works for you is whatever you've been doing on the mocks, you got to continue that. You've got to take CAT like you would take any other mock. Okay, go in with that kind of a mentality. And guys, see, people can give you all kinds of advice, right? The reason it might not work for you is because your journey is different. Like I said earlier, please make sure take anything people say with a pinch of salt. So that's very important. And then now let's talk about the D-Day. This is what I really want to talk about in today's class, right? What do you do, what not to do in that kind of a situation? Basic, like I said, the day before CAT, make sure you sleep. You might have a very interesting discussion with friends in online forums and all of that. Stay away, all right? There's going to be a lot of negativity around CAT the day before CAT exam or the day after as well. Keep away from all of that. Conserve your energies. Rest. Very, very, very important. All right? Very important. This is a game changer. If you don't rest enough, you're really going to struggle later on. So, and you start setting your sleep cycle now. So, see, over the next 1 week, when you sleep, when you wake up is going to matter. So make sure you guys sleep well, all right, and get that kind of cycle, especially for the people in the morning slots. And if you're not used to waking up in the morning, please make sure you guys sleep well, especially if you have to travel, etc. You have to plan your day accordingly. That's exactly my next point. Plan your trip to the center. All right. For me, the center last year was around 1.5 hours drive away, which meant the entire preparation. I went a couple of days before to check the center out, came back, do all of that. Make sure you know the place well because it happens sometimes that your Google Maps also is wrong. For example, in 2018, what happened with me was I went to the center which showed, I mean, according to the Google Maps, and it ended up around 4 or 5 kilometers away from my actual center. Luckily, I had left enough amount of time, at the center. I was like an hour and a half early, which meant it didn't matter, but it gets to you. You don't want any sort of tension getting to you. At that point, मतलब आप लोग ही सोच लो कि the day of the मतलब the day of the exam, सुबह सुबह किसी ने आपको गाली दिया या आपने किसी को गाली दिया. It doesn't work, right? I mean, you're gonna get tensed. You don't want such a thing happening to you. Trust me, it will only negatively affect you. So few things to make sure you look up the center early. If possible, go once and visit. Make sure you're going to the exact same spot. If not, at least do some sort of reconnaissance. Make sure you've done your recon. At least reach the center early enough. A few hours early would really help. All right. Reach early. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Reach early. Again, once you reach the center, you're going to see a lot of CAT gurus, mentors, teachers who are going to, they'll be flocked with people. Make sure you stay away from such kind of things which shouldn't affect you at all. Stay again this year, especially with COVID. Make sure you stay away from people. Even if, whoever you've gone with, make sure you don't speak to many people and all of that. Just keep to yourself. Uh, you know, Stay safe and keep to yourself. Conserve your energy. Don't worry about too much if what people are going to talk to you. You're going to have people who say CAT will be like this, CAT will be like that. Nobody knows how CAT is, right? Only when you go into the center will you figure out. Again, slot one, two, three guys. Slot one guys, don't worry too much, especially if you guys feel slot one hai, you don't know what kind of paper it's going to be. You guys are you might be feeling that you guys are at a disadvantage. What happens more often than not is that in slot one, there are a lot of people who get tensed, especially when there's a pattern change. And because there's something called normalization that happens later on, each slot, for example, so see how normalization works is that if there are more than one slot, what they try to do is they try to negate any sort of unfairness in the paper setting. So now look, you have 2 lakh people writing the exam across 3 slots, which means around give or take 70,000 people per slot. That's a huge solution set. So in this 70,000, they expect all 70,000 on an average to be equally good. And that's a fair assumption to make, especially since it's a randomly taken set. All right. So with that assumption, they try to equate each and every, each people of each slot. And what happens from that is that, so say you're the first slot people, and a lot of people in your slot, obviously because there's a new pattern, nobody knows how many questions are going to be there, etc. People will have issues, right? They're going to face problems. And what comes out of that is that if you can keep your head there, if you do decently well, stick to the plans you made, modify plans if required, don't get too tensed, right? Go for your goal properly, you end up getting a huge advantage. Similarly, for slot 2 or 3, uh, again, people will tell you ask the first slots. Yeah, okay, sure. Also from previous years, so slot 1 slightly easier than slot 2. Exactly. So it doesn't matter, right? Again, last 2 years, it's true that the first slot was easier than the second slot, and that's again just scaling happened because of that. For example, in 2018, slot one was much easier than slot two, and there was a change of a +3 given to slot two, a -3 given to slot one. Last year, the difference was even bigger, especially LRDI. If you guys have seen, slot one LRDI was much easier than slot two LRDI, and hence there was a 6 mark scaling for slot two and a negative 1.5 marks for slot one. So overall, it will be taken care of by scaling. You guys don't have to worry about that, right? Uh, don't worry, ki, yeah, my slot is going to be very hard, or the other slot I should have taken, all of that. That doesn't matter. Hey, Tejas, welcome. Right? So just go there. Don't engage in any sort of pre-CAT discussions. Guys, it happens. People escalate. I've seen people shouting at each other just before the exam. Don't worry. All right. Uh, don't talk to people. Just stay in your cocoon. That's very important. See, the entire point now is that you gotta, wrap your head around this. That you gotta stay calm, whatever happens. People can be jumping around. They can make all kinds of noises. It doesn't matter. You gotta stay in your cocoon. Stay in your this thing. You gotta be in what they call the zone, right? You just go in, think of nothing but CAT. Be very narrow-minded. CAT is the only thing matters at that point. So don't discuss anything with anybody. Conserve your energy. Again, another small thing I'd like to tell you guys: one, don't have a very heavy breakfast or lunch. All right, it helps a lot if you maintain a very light breakfast or lunch before going into CAT, according to the slot. Because more often than not, if you have a heavy breakfast or lunch, you end up drowsy. This is something everybody knows, but largely most of us forget it when it comes to this kind of an exam. So keep yourself, yes, you have to have enough energy also. That doesn't mean you skip breakfast. So make sure you have breakfast or lunch, but make sure you have very little. Keep it light. All right. Uh, I'm sorry for this. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I had a little bit of issue with my system. Okay, guys, another thing, this is the most important thing. And it happens very, very regular. Oh, God, just give me a second. Give me a second. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, look, each section is a different battle. It's a it doesn't matter what you've done previously. This it's a game changer here. So, for example, what happens, especially if one of the first two sections are tough, and it happens quite regularly. It happened last year for a lot of people. If you have a tough VARC section, let's say it takes a lot of your energy out of you, right? And when you start DILR, you got to make sure you're fresh. What you do to do that, it depends on you. I know of a couple of friends who spent 5 minutes in the last VARC just getting to the right mind space, going washing their faces and coming back, something like that. I've seen people who've done taking DILR time, but whatever it is, take that maybe 30 seconds, calm yourself, get back onto the mode, forget about what happened in the previous section. A lot of time, what happens is that we still keep to what happened in the previous section. You know what? I should have got that question right. I should have attempted this question. I made this mistake, which I shouldn't have made, and all of that. And then you end up screwing up in the next section. So try not to take anything what happened in the previous section towards your next section. This is very, 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 very important. All right. Keep yourself because each section matters. All right. And even if you mess up one single section, you can make up for it in the next couple of sections or the next one section. And again, don't go in the extremes for that, saying, you know what, I messed up a DILR. I'm going to ace quant. I'm going to attempt all 34 questions. Even if, say, you can't, it could happen. And it happened to me in 2018, where the DILR paper I did badly, even though the paper was pretty easy. And then quant was a difficult paper. I couldn't get the kind of score I wanted to get. Right. And then I ended up over attempting and making a lot of mistakes and things like that. It shouldn't have happened. So don't deviate from your plan regardless of what happens. Right? You got to stick to the kind of plan you have. Again, you can modify the plan slightly here and there. For example, say you're going in with thinking I'll attempt more RC than VA, and then you figure out that the RCs are very tough. Then you go switch to VA, get something done, come here, pick your passages. Same thing with DILR, right? You got to pick what you want. You got to pick the battles you want to take up, right? That's very, very important. Especially in a tough paper, it's less about attempts, it's more about accuracy. Get the correct ones. So attempt the easiest ones. Your strategy comes into play, especially in tougher papers, right? Okay, guys, this is the basic things I wanted to speak about. These are 7 things which I felt you guys should really keep in mind. Make sure you guys are well prepared for CAT. You have 1 week. Stay calm. A lot of time we miss out on this softer aspects of CAT, right? We always think about the more technical aspects, but do keep in mind this is what's going to become the difference. This is a difference between an 80 percentile and a 95 percentile. This is a difference between a 99 percentile and a 99.8 percentile. And all of this will matter to get your calls. Again, once your calls are out, it's a whole different ballgame after that. So go for CAT, think well, all of that. And let's say, worst case, God forbid you screw up, it's okay. Because you have a ZAT coming up, you have IIFT coming up, and say you have none of these, you can always take CAT the next year. CAT is not your JEE where you can take just a couple of attempts, or UPSC where you have a limited number of attempts. Your attempts are infinite, so don't worry about it. Go in with the kind of confidence that it doesn't matter how many times I'm going to, I'm going to have to take CAT, I'm going to ace it once or sometime. Again, this takes off a lot of pressure. The second you go in with, I'm going to get it this year, or I'm not going to be able to do anything else, that kind of a do or die kind of a situation, it brings in a lot of self-inflicted pressure, which you don't want at this kind of a situation. Guys, if there are any questions, do ask. Because I know I can understand the kind of pressure you guys will be going through. Do ask. I'd like to, hopefully I can tell how much you guys, hopefully I can give you some sort of tips which would work. It might not work. That's a different matter. But these are the basic things you guys have to follow, all right? Just keep calm. I can't stress how important that is. I know I might be repeating myself, but I can't stress how important it is. You cannot afford to panic in the exam, right? Make sure you keep yourself well hydrated also. Again, this year I'm not sure if they let you take in a water bottle or things like that, but if they do, that's very good. I'm not 100% sure if they will. Oh, and another thing I want to tell you guys guys, make sure you have your masks and gloves and all of that set ready. Your ID cards, you need 2 ID cards. Make sure you set both of them aside. All of that at least a few days before CAT. All right? I know people, because it happens, you might forget. And then you don't want that kind of pressure, that kind of thing on your head in the morning or afternoon, whenever your sessions are. There are a couple of things. Again, these are purely my what I would have done if I was attempting CAT, what I did in the last couple of years. Do ask your friends, especially the slot 2 and slot 3 guys, do ask your friends how many questions and things like that, but take it with a pinch of salt. Let's say somebody tells you verbal is super easy. Right? Just imagine. You go attempt the paper and you see, oh my God, this is a tough verbal paper. How did he feel it was easy? And those kind of thoughts shouldn't come into mind. If he says it's easy, it was probably easy for that slot. The other slot could have a tougher verbal paper, in which case it's all about attempting those questions which you can get right, attempt the easiest ones, maximize your score, all right, and eventually scaling will take care of any other discrepancies. It happened last year in DALR to a lot of people when they all went in the second slot thinking it's a very easy DALR paper, and they had a couple of questions which were ridiculously tough. Right? Those are the kind of questions they should have left. I know a guy who had a 28, who had a 100 percentile in DALR in 2018. He went in and with a score of 75. And this year he could manage only a score of around 60 with a lot of negatives. And I asked him why. He told me because people told him that the first slot was very easy. People are getting 80, etc. The second slot he thought is going to be similarly easy. When he saw that, he thought it is his fault that he's not able to solve enough questions. So he ended up making a lot of mistakes, just ramping up his speed unnecessarily. If he had attempted a little lesser number of questions, he would have ended up with his 100 percentile again. All right? Or whatever. See, at that point, 10, 20 marks is going to make a big difference. It happened to me in 2018 because I had a dreadful DLR paper. I went into quant, and quant was my strongest subject at that point. And I thought, you know what, I screwed up DLR, which is supposed to give my score that kicker, push me about 99.5, 99.7. I need to now push my quant up there. That 20 extra marks I have to get in quant. If I had a 60 in quant, I would have had a 99.5 in quant in that year's paper. But like an idiot, I went on that rampage trying to attempt more and more questions because the first half an hour I could solve 8 questions. That's it. First half an hour, just 8 questions. And I realized, you know what, I can't do this. So then I started making, trying to play with this thing, doing all kinds of things which I shouldn't have done, somewhat trying to pull my attempts up, making silly mistakes, left, right, and center. My only aim at that point was to try and attempt 25 questions, which I had, kind of pushed into my head. I have to attempt so many number of questions, and I ended up messing it up. Right? I ended up with a score of around 40 with 25 attempts. With 20 attempts, if I just got all that 20 right, just stuck myself, brought myself down, pushed for those easy 20, or rather easy plus medium 20 questions, I would have gotten 99.5. And overall, that 20 marks is probably the difference between me having to write 2019 CAT all over again. Again, in hindsight, it worked for me, but trust me, you don't want to do that one more year extra just because of such silly mistakes. You won't forgive yourself. All right? So yeah, this is basically it. Do not at any cost panic. And to not panic, you have to tell yourself, you know what, I'm not going to panic. It's okay. If the paper is tough for you, it is most probable that everybody else finds it tough. Right? Don't worry, ki, yaar, this guy last slot, he told me it was easy. Everybody else must be finding it easy. I'm finding it tough. How is that possible? Hota hai, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Okay. Any questions? Let me just check with the YouTube folks. All right. So yeah, do you guys have any questions? Any sort of queries I can help you with? Do let me know. Right. I'll give a couple of minutes for that and then go on with what I have. Hello, Anshul. Welcome. Yeah. So you guys are good. Okay. So yeah. All right. Look. Now, once you're done with CAT, they just see ID cards. I suggest having 2 different types. I generally had my, I think, driving license, and I took my passport or something as well. So keep 2 ID or Aadhaar card and driving license, something like that. Keep 2 different ID cards, preferably. Other than that, this year you've got to have a mask, preferably a backup mask, which is the first one tears, and you got to have gloves. All right, this many things you've got to have this year. I'm not sure if they let you take your water bottle in. They let us last year, so that I'm not 100% sure if they will. So if you're going with in a private vehicle, I'd suggest take a water bottle as well. So worst case, if they don't let you take it in, you can always put it out and go. And guys, make sure you're at least an hour there, earlier. They give you I believe they tell you you're supposed to be there by 7:30 for the first 8:30 slot. The reason they tell you that to reach 1.5 hours early is because there's a lot of process that happens in the start of CAT, right? In the starting, you have your fingerprints taken, your photo taken, and all of that. And this year with COVID, there's going to be a lot of restrictions. So the entire speed of the process is going to be low, which means you have to be there as early as possible. Last year, I remember in my center, there were people whose all this process happened like minutes before CAT, barely minutes. They just got to their seat and then the CAT started. So you don't want those kind of things happening because, like I said, it's that excitement, that sort of nervousness which it brings is huge. Yeah, will I be able to write the paper? Yeah, matlab, will I be losing time? You don't want all that to happen. So reach early, plan your entire travel that way. And see, now you have 1 week left. You can plan all these kind of things as well. Especially for those people who have to go to different cities or something like that. I would suggest uh, don't do overnight travel. Reach there the day before and stay. I had a friend who told me about this, how they've seen people, you travel through the night, your sleep is screwed, and then attempting CAT, it's not at all, it's not even ideal. I mean, it's bad, right? You're going there half asleep. You don't want that. You don't want something like that to happen. Your mind has to be at its peak. So you have to at least wake up a couple, 2, 3 hours before you leave. So set all those kind of things up. Uh, Keep those things, well. And again, few things. If you guys are taking any mocks now, I've told this in all my classes previously. Make sure you take it with masks on. Make sure you take it with gloves on. In fact, actually, see if you can build that stamina of wearing that mask for long periods. I've had friends who've taken, SSC, CGL the last week, and they were told to have their mask on the entire time. This year, it's quite probable that CAT also will tell you to do the same thing, right? So that kind of see, it chokes people. It's not. There are issues which come, especially if you're not very comfortable wearing a mask for long periods. So please do that. Yeah, I think that is more or less what I wanted to talk about in terms of uh, how you prepare and all of that. Other than that, these are a few things, especially when, say, CAT is tough. Give me a second. Okay. Say your CAT paper is going to be, so you have your VARCs 40 minutes. Then you're going to have DILR and then quant, right? And more often than not, you're tougher generally. Till last year, mostly we found a very, very tough DILR. Last year, on the whole, it was much easier compared to the previous years. All right. Last year was a tough VARC. You've had a tough quant in 2018. So there is nobody who can predict what kind of level each section is going to be. So make sure you have multiple strategies. I've spoken about this in a previous video as well. Make sure you have multiple strategies. Say you find out that you're a person who follows a round strategy for DILR, and you figure out soon enough that there are not enough easy sets and not enough easy or medium sets. Make sure you spend some time going through each set, right? Make sure you change your strategy ever so slightly so that uh, you don't miss out on anything easy. Especially in a tough paper, you cannot afford to miss out on things that you should solve, right? So especially in tough papers, make sure you spend time. Again, it mostly happens in DILR and quant. Uh, when you have time restrictions. In tough papers, it's about spending more time on easier questions and maximizing your score. You got to leave tough questions, and leaving questions is an art. Like, keep your ego outside the room when you enter for CAT. That's very, very important. I know you guys would have probably been doing it in your mocks all this while. If you haven't, guys, this is very, very serious. Make sure it doesn't matter. See, you can get 100, you can get a 90 percentile with 30 marks if the paper is very tough. It might, again, in an easy paper, it's going to be proportionally higher. But understand that even a 30% score can give you a 90 percentile. How? Right? If in a tough paper, it happens. So do understand that that is very, very important. In tough papers, you cannot at any point guess. Guessing should be off the table altogether. So do understand that it doesn't matter what your score is. It doesn't matter. The paper would be tough. Paper would be easy. आपका score you just have to maximize it. It doesn't matter if it's low or high. ठीक है? Please do keep that in mind कि यार ये नहीं सोचना कि you know what, I'm going there to score 180. It doesn't matter on the paper. वो नहीं चलता. It doesn't work that way. All right. And this year, again, you might have 75 questions, you might have 100 questions, we don't know. So be careful about that. Spend those few minutes you get before the start of the exam where you have to read through the instructions. It'll be written clearly how many questions are there. Make sure you read that well. Make sure you read how many marks are there for each question and plan your strategy accordingly. Okay. Slot 2, slot 3 on that point, make sure you guys talk to others, just get to know the number of questions. And if you want, get to know how tough or easy it was, but it doesn't matter. Easy or tough, आपको फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. Overall, the same. Overall, CAT will be same across, I mean, uh, similar across the three, the same, what do you call, slots, but individual section differences हो सकता है, and it will happen. It's not like CAT can set the same very same level of LOD for all three. It's not possible. So आप वो सब मत सोचना. That will be taken care of by normalization. So you just stick to this. If you have to ask, I mean, if I was in your state, I would have asked how many questions are there per section. Again, section timings. So I am Indore has said you have 40 minutes, but number of questions it could be possible, especially if you guys have gone through the mock test at CAT is released. They've gone with a joint, as in there is no sectional difference timing that they've given. तो वो भी हो सकता है, you never know, and it used to be there in CAT previously. बहुत कुछ हुआ है CAT में. It's possible that in verbal you might be asked grammar. ये सब हो सकता है, but uh, if that happens, I mean, you have to basically expect anything can happen and go in that way. ठीक है? It's all about the mental conditioning at that point. So yeah, I mean, आप लोगों को कुछ पूछना है तो प्लीज पूछ लो. I'm here for saying, आप लोगों को कुछ भी हेल्प कर सकता हूँ मैं ये लास्ट मोमेंट पे. I'll help. You guys don't have anything, we can drop off. As in, मुझे ऐसे कुछ ज़्यादा कुछ था नहीं. Do let me if you guys have something we can speak about. Any sort of concerns you have, do let me know and we can speak. Even the YouTube folks, if you have anything, do let me know. Uh, Thanks for attending. All right, guys, if that's pretty much it, then I'll close. And it was lovely. I mean, you guys have anything, do let me know, else we can stop this here. All right? Good share, especially the YouTube folks. So, ठीक है, guys. All the best for CAT. Do well. I'll also be taking another couple of sessions, one on GDPI, and maybe let's see if what I can take in the last one more session. All right? So that's pretty much it, guys. कुछ है तो please बता दो. I'll be stopping this in 5 minutes. 5 minutes I'll be here. Uh, All right, then I'll drop off. Thanks, guys. It was fun.